Meet Hope. One of my daughters works at a veterinary clinic and she's also involved with rescue. She had called me one morning and asked me if I'd foster a hummingbird that was found in a ball field and was injured, so I told her I would. When she brought this hummingbird to me, it was in really bad shape, so I immediately started giving it sugar water. Now, here's where I want to say something. That red dye that they put in hummingbird food that you buy in the store, please do not use that. That red dye causes serious health issues and it can even cause death. Now, you can make your own hummingbird food and it's really easy to do. For every cup of pure cane sugar, you use 4 cups of water. You put that on the stove and you boil it. And you especially want to boil this if you're using tap water, but you do this to kill any bacteria or anything like that that could possibly be in the water. You let that boil for maybe 2 minutes or so, and then you let it cool, and there's your hummingbird food. All right. I immediately started giving this hummingbird the sugar water. It had to be done every 10 minutes until I saw that its sugar level was starting to come back up and it was starting to be more aware, and then it was every 15 minutes that I gave it this solution. I named this hummingbird Hope and I thought it was a female. I needed to start checking to see what all was wrong with this poor little thing. And so I was checking to see if it could perch. Well, the perching went fine, but I could see that there was also a bad problem with the wing. And I was worried that the wing could possibly be broken. Hummingbirds' legs and wings, the bones in them are hollow and their legs aren't muscular for hopping or walking. They use their feet only for perching and scratching. They don't use them for walking or anything like that. They spend most of their lives perching and use the power of their wings to lift off the branches, so you could see why I was concerned about this little one. I wanted to keep Hope stimulated, so I'd let it perch on my finger and look out the window. And this seemed to just really perk Hope up every time that I would do this. With hummingbirds needing to feed every 15 minutes at least, I wanted to get Hope more acclimated to drinking out of the feeder. So I folded up a wash rag and I put it underneath there, underneath the rail, so that it would be easier for Hope to get up on there. And I put sugar drops around the holes of the feeder, and that seemed to work really well, and it wasn't no time before Hope was drinking out of the feeder. I'd seen hummingbirds getting nectar from the Mexican sunflowers and the lemon bee balm that I was growing. So I went out and I cut a couple of the flowers and brought them in to see if this would help Hope more with being stimulated with familiar surroundings.
It's okay. Go ahead and try it. That instinct is there. Yeah.
I was really worried that Hope had a broken wing. So I called my daughter and she came out that evening to keep him for the night so she could take him to a wildlife vet the first thing the next morning. the x-rays didn't show any broken bones or anything like that, and so the vet thought that possibly it was a bruised wing. The vet also asked if I would be willing to continue to take care of Hope because she was so impressed at how well this little hummingbird was doing, and I was thrilled. And I also found out that Hope was not a female, but was a juvenile male. The whole experience of the road trip and the x-rays was really stressful on Hope. And so whenever he got back, I had to get his sugar levels back up and help him to de-stress. Coming back out of it already. We'll wait a couple of minutes. Give you a little bit more. You're doing good, aren't you, baby? Yes, sir, Mr. Hope. Yes. You ready for some more? Is that what you're saying? Okay, okay. I'll give you some. How to give a hummingbird a bath. Is that better, sweetheart? Is that better? The most spoiled hummingbird in the world. Protein is part of a hummingbird's diet. So now I've had to take on the task of catching spiders and caterpillars and things like that, blending them up in sugar water and straining them. And what I do is I put a cap underneath one of the holes and then block the rest of them so that Hope will drink out of the one hole and not be bothered with the rest of them so that he can get his protein intake. Hummingbirds need to feed every 15 minutes because their metabolism is so high. Their wings can beat up to 80 times a second, and their heart rate can range from 500 to 1200 times a minute. During the day, the hummingbirds will fill their crops, that little pouch in their neck, they'll fill them around 1/3 full. But you may wonder, how do they survive through the night if they have to feed every 15 minutes during the day? Well, before sunset, they will fill their crops all the way up to have a supplemental energy source through the night. They go into a state of torpor, which is a fancy name for a state of hibernation. During this, their core temperature and their metabolism drops way down. Their heart rate drops to around 45, and then their breathing slows way down too, and it can even stop briefly. Then, when they wake up of a morning, they'll start flapping their wings to warm their blood and get everything back up to par again to where it usually is. And I think that's just absolutely amazing. Hope keeps improving, but he's still having trouble with his wing. And he's definitely missed out on the window to migrate. So it looks like I'm going to have him for the winter. And it is said that in captivity, hummingbirds will only live for 6 weeks. But I'm going to do everything I can for this little guy. And if he is a success story, when it comes time for the release, I'll be recording that and sharing it. He wants to fly so bad. Uh-oh, what'd you do there? Can you get back up on your own? Huh? Uh-oh, you've only got one foot hanging on. Good boy. Good boy. Yes. Good boy. That sweet little cry.